Welcome to X Marks the Spot podcast. The story you're about to listen to is all true. The only thing that has been changed are the people's names and their locations to protect their identity. Everything else has actually happened to myself and my guest in the story we are about to share today. And with that, let's get started. My guest today is Melissa, and today's drink we are having some Moscow Mules. They are not in copper mugs because I ordered them and the company decided to cancel on me. So just amateur professional bartender over here now. But we are going to be talking about Melissa's, is it an ex? Are we talking about a casual guy you dated? What are we talking about today for you?
So I think it's more or less like something that should have been but never was, if that makes sense. So it was a fling, was a thing, but never was anything more when it should have been more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it was basically you guys were in a sense casual dating, but it was more along the lines of like friends with benefits, but you were hoping it was going to lead to more. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think too, like he was hoping that too, because I feel like the feelings were mutual, but just I think timing was our biggest fault, and timing is like wasn't there for us. So I think that's why it was like a never happened, but should have happened, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but
yeah, the constant thing of, oh, we should be this, but it won't. So let's just jump right into it. So where was your guys' first date? What did you guys do? Did you guys just like go to a typical thing? Was it dinner or movie?
So I don't think we ever even had like a real date. So like we were friends in college, right? Met freshman year. And then I don't know, we always had like some attraction or some chemistry to each other. I don't know. So we were always like seeing other people, doing other things, hooking up with other people. But then at the end of the day, it was always like me and him. Like we always like went back to each other, but we never actually had like a date. Like we never like did anything like that. Like, cause I think too, like we lived together. So he was my roommate. Yeah. So cause we were friends, and then me and him were both the ones that didn't graduate on time. We did that victory lap. So then we were like, let's just live together because we're the only ones out of our friend group still here. And then two of our other friends ended up going to grad school. So then the four of us just lived together. We didn't live in the same room, but we lived in the same apartment.
Okay. Is that how you guys met? Was it college? Was it because you guys became roommates, or was it like through friends?
So
was
we
it
met
through an app? Did you guys swipe on each
college. Swiped right or whatever it is.
Yeah, super liked or whatever that is now.
No. So we just met freshman year because I lived above him, on the floor above him. So we would always meet because like we were smokers and there was a smoking gazebo. So that's how we met, at a smoking gazebo.
That's how most loves start, right? All those stories like, yeah, we both smoked and decided, why not?
Met smoking a cigarette. And then that's kind of how like our friend group formed, because we all lived in the same building. It was like guys on the first floor, girls on the second floor, or vice versa. Girls on the first floor, guys on the second floor. So that's how the friend group came to be, and we were all smokers. So we all met in the smoking gazebo. It was just like this, I don't know, we all just vibed with each other because we were all the same, like, you know. And then, then that went on for, I guess, like just being friends, always hanging out. And then I guess our fourth year, that's when we actually started to like each other. And he had a girlfriend for like 2 years of college, but they didn't end up working out, and no one knew why. She broke up with him out of nowhere, right? And no one knew why. And then later on, so I guess we're kind of like jumping through, but like later on, he had told me that she had broken up with him because of like his relationship with me. And I guess she was kind of jealous. She was like, the way you look at Melissa is not the way you look at me. The way you act with Melissa is not the way you act with me. Like she was almost like, I can see that you guys are meant to be together. Yeah. Like you guys just are on the same like chemistry wavelength. And she was like, and that's not, she was like, I'm just watching it. Like I watch you guys together and I'm just sitting here like, he might be my boyfriend, but like he looks like he's somewhere else. So she broke up with him and he never told the friend group. Like he was like, oh yeah, she just dumped me. And then later on he was like, no, Melissa, it was because of you. Like it's because of you. Like, but I didn't know that until
much later. Yeah. When you guys were basically starting your own thing.
Yeah.
Got it. See, that's crazy because I'm sure there's plenty of people who've related to this. Either you've been that person or you've been, in that situation where there's always a friend that you look differently at and everything. Which is funny because, small story on my end, my best friend and I, we've known each other since we were 15. We love each other in obviously the most platonic way we can.
Yeah.
When we went to Europe, I actually ran into one of my college friends out there and we were all having fun and drinking and stuff. And she told me, she's like, you two love each other. And I was like, no, we do. And she's like, and I was like, no. It's not that way. And then she brought it up to my friend and she said the same thing. She was like, I see that you and Will like actually have like a love. She's like, no, we do. And we both talked about it later at that time. And we're like, we have the most platonic love for each other. Like I will always love my best friend no matter what, through shit that she's gone through to shit that she's been like, we will always be friends. But it's funny because I've also known those people who have been in the relationships. I'm like, you two look at each other a very certain way.
Yeah.
That I don't look at my best friend or some of my female friends. Like,
yeah,
you two have something. And it's obnoxious because neither of you are doing anything about it.
And I think that was the thing too. It's like, I didn't even know that. Like, you know what I mean? Because you don't know the way that you look at someone. Yeah. You just like, you look at them, whatever. But to a third person, like looking in, being like, no. Like the way you guys look at each other is not like something that is like, I don't know. I guess there's just something more to it.
Yeah. There's that little twinkle or something that she's like, yeah, I don't have any of this.
Yeah. She was like, I'm clearly missing the mark. Like, and like, I think too, like she loved him, but it was just like, I guess, yeah, from looking in, it's like, how could I compete? And for me, I was like, oh no, we're just best friends. Like, I almost thought the same thing. Oh, it's platonic. We're best friends, like whatever. And she was like, well, now looking back, she was probably thinking like, no, that wasn't platonic, wasn't. And I mean, it wasn't, because then after they did break up, me and him did start hooking up. But there was always just something else that was happening. Like either I was hooking up with other people or he was hooking up with other people, except I wasn't hooking up with people in front of him. So I almost felt like I was like living my little college life, like you know what I mean? Like, but he was doing it right in front of me. And I don't know if that was also the reason why, because I just felt like me seeing him hook up with other people also made me think like, well, what is wrong with me? Like if you're hooking up with me and like people say we have this connection, like even our friends would say like, oh, you guys act like husband and wife. Like, and it's like, all right, but if we do, then like, why aren't we just like making some rules here?
Why isn't
like,
there any more with it? Or
and I think, I don't know, maybe we both were just scared because we were in college and still wanted to have fun. But at the end of the day, we still wanted each other, but also wanted to have our cake and eat it too. Like we wanted everything. Like I still wanted all the fun, but then wanted, because like at the end of the night, it was always me and him. Like we would sometimes sleep in the same bed. We would sometimes like, you know what I mean? But then we would go out for a night, hook up, whatnot. And then sometimes I would go somewhere else and he would bring someone else back. And then it's like, okay.
Yeah. Like, and you're just like, all right. Like, I don't know how many people have been to that situation. I've kind of been in that before too I was in an open relationship with a girl after I broke up with like the ex, like for me. And so I was not in that mind space or anything, but she was like, I'm okay with the open relationship. But she was also like, when you're ready, I'm ready for it just to be us. And I was like, you know what, that's good. Cause it was kind of like that mentality, the same as like that college mentality. I mean, I was basically in college. Where I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me have some fun, because I just got out of like a really serious relationship. Like I was ready to propose to this girl and everything. And then she ended up cheating on me. That's another story for another episode. I'm sure everyone's going to be so thrilled about that one.
Right. I would love to hear that story.
Yeah. That story is way where like I need some tissues because it's going to get serious.
We need stronger drinks. Then. Maybe some rounded
I honestly think it's just a straw in whatever bottle and I'm just going to just pound it. But she was always constantly, in a sense, mentioning that she wanted it to be serious when I'm ready, which I thought was great, because I was like, you know what, this is someone who's giving me the time. Her and I had a lot in common and this and that. So, but you know, I was still dating, and you know, she had certain rules of like the open relationship, which funny enough, she ended up breaking her own rules. One of the rules, kind of weird. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who have open relationships. They work fantastic for all of you. This didn't work for me because the rule was, you can sleep with anybody, but it can't be your ex.
Okay.
Which I was like, that's actually, that makes 100% sense.
Seems fair. Yeah.
Especially because regardless of whatever situation you're in, that should be the biggest one of like, yeah, because that's the person you had feelings for. I then ended up finding out from one of our mutual friends that I was like, I don't know, like I am thinking about it, like getting more serious with her because, you know, like I am enjoying our company. And it was like that with you and him. It was, you know, regardless of whatever time we went, a lot of nights it was she would call me or I'd call her and we would always spend the night together.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, why not? And then our mutual friend was like, I need to tell you.
Oh no.
She slept with her ex, like not once.
Oh, not once.
And I was like,
how many times?
4 times.
4.
4.
4.
4.
So that's like consciously breaking your own
exactly.
rule. Like one time could have been like a drunken thing, but 4, that's like you still have feelings.
That was
like...
that was an absolute like, this is a decision I'm going to make. So as soon as I found that out, obviously I was upset because I went, she can't even follow her own rules. So then in my mind, instantly I went, well, what would she do if we were serious? She would have obviously cheated by now.
I think that is a red flag too, because it's like if you're setting the boundaries and setting like this like ground of like we're not going to sleep with our exes and then do it 4 times, it's like, okay, like what does that even mean for the future? It's like, would she ever cheat on me in the future? Would things, I don't know, like even just go like,
would it be any different? Like, or would it have eventually gone back to the same thing where she's like, you know, let's just sleep with whomever, and I'd be like, why are you saying that now? Because then I would honestly immediately go to, is it because you and your ex are talking?
Yeah.
And so when I confronted her about it, that was the fun thing, because I broke it off with her and I was like, you know why? I didn't say it. I wanted her to admit it.
Yeah, of course.
She first went, I'm very like, I don't know. And I went, you don't know. Like
super like, sarcastic.
Yeah,
like you don't know.
You don't know. like deadpan face, like eyes kind of glaring, like, uh-huh. And I was like, who did you sleep with that was your own rule we weren't supposed to sleep with? She was like, yeah, like, yeah, basically like, I did sleep with my ex. I was like, how many times? I was like, because I know. So I was like,
might as well just tell the truth.
I was like, so anything you say right now is like, also you're like, oh, I don't know why this is happening. It's like, come on. I found out. So she admitted and I was like, oh, okay.
So was she ever going to tell you, or was she just gonna?
She was actually hoping that was going to stay hidden.
Ooh.
And it was weird because it was kind of like again, going back to yours, which of like, why would you go through that? Like the whole, like, you know, everyone saw how great we were. Everyone enjoyed like our company together.
Yeah.
And then you're going to break your own rules. Like, I don't know if you guys had rules when you two were dating.
No,
like,
we had like no rules. It was a very just like go with the flow type of like relationship of like whatever. I don't know. Just go with the flow. Like no rules, just whatever. But I don't know why we never, like thinking back now, like, because it was like so many years ago, like, I don't know why we never like solidified something. And I don't know if it was just because of the friend group as well. Like maybe it would like if anything happened, it would cause a rift in the friend group. And like, and then I think too, like we were young, like in like early 20s. So like, I don't know. I think too, maybe for me, like my parents got married when they were like 18, like whatever years old. Like they were super young. So I think I have that mentality of like, oh, I wanted to like date someone and then basically get married to them like right after college, because that's just what I feel like. Even like my grandparents got married at 16. So I think I've been like this mindset of like, oh, you have to get married. You have to get married.
Yeah.
And now I don't feel that way anymore, but it's just like, yeah, I think at the time, like I thought I was going to marry him because I was like, oh, we have this connection. Everyone notices it. It's there. It's happening. Let's just go with the flow. Like, and like my mom always says, everything happens for a reason. And maybe it does, but that go with the flow, like we should have laid some rules down. Like instead of just like, oh, everything happens for a reason. Like we'll just keep rolling with it. Because then at the end of the day, like I got hurt and speaking for him, I guess, I feel like he probably got hurt too, because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there was something there. He told me that he liked me and all of that. And then it just, I don't know.
Did it sort of just fizzle away? Did it like just kind of end right there? Or was it stonewall? Like, You kind of know what I'm mentioning. Like, what did it just like slowly, like you both, or like you lost interest and then he was like, wait, no, or kind of thing?
So I think it was like accumulation of things. I think because like for me, like I had never been in a relationship until my boyfriend now. Like I never was in like a committed, like serious relationship. It was always like flings, friends with benefits, like, you know, like the whole, that whole like thing.
The casual life.
Yeah, like super casual. For me, I think it's a combination of things. Like I never wanted to be in a relationship because I never knew who I was. I feel like I was always suffering through like an identity crisis, like between like high school to college. Like, so I never knew who I was. So I never wanted to be in a relationship because I didn't know who I was. And like, how could you be in a relationship when you don't know who you are? You know what I mean? What is someone else gonna bring if I don't even know who I am? And then I also feel like anytime I was interested in a guy and saw a potential, I feel like one of my friends always just kind of like would put herself in there and fuck it up. Like, you know, I feel like I was always getting like also fucked over by my friends. Like I remember even like my one roommate, she would always message guys that I was interested in. Like she would DM them. She also looked like a Victoria's Secret model. She was hot, you know? And I wasn't. I've always been a little chunky, like, you know what I mean? Like, so, and that also would always throw me off. I'm like, oh, why is she messaging these guys I like and I tell her about behind my back? And I don't know if it was for her own self-esteem of like, oh, I could get any guy I want, even Melissa's guys, like, you know? But I think that's also why I was never in a relationship, because I'm like, who can I trust? Like if I bring someone around, my friend's trying to talk to them too, or it just like, I don't know who I am. So what do I have to bring to the table? It just never like, it was always getting messed up. It was almost like either my self-sabotage or someone else was sabotaging it.
Interesting. I mean, in a sense of, you know, whatever we want to call them, beautiful people, Victoria's Secret models, like the models basically still friends. Yeah, I'm sure she is, bitch.
I know, right? Like I wish, like that's like, and she would eat freaking chicken wings. She would eat whatever she wanted and never gained it. She still looked like a Victoria's Secret model. She's like, and then I just go running. I'm like, I go running too. Doesn't mean I'm gonna get the same way. Like, and it's funny because those people tend to have also the same like self-esteem issues that we do, and I'm like, why? I'm like, you see yourself in the mirror. I'm like, also you get constant validation. But then again, you know, there's also, you know, self-esteem issues that most people just grow up with, this and that. Who knows, maybe her family was very like gaining a little weight. It's like, where was she gaining weight? Nowhere. Like stop it. But I don't even know if she knew that she was doing that to me, like intentionally, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, some
or
people,
if it was just like
it's almost just like a weird like sneak attack, like just to see if they can, maybe. And I mean, honestly, some people, when you call them out on it, they go, oh, am I doing that? It's like, yes, because I'm experiencing it.
Even too, I remember, I think I once like called her out on it with someone and she was like, oh, I was trying to just help you out. Like, help me out. Like, I don't need your help. Like, I'm good. Like, you know, like so I think, I don't know. Like, I don't even know if she was like consciously like aware of like what she was doing. And that's interesting too, because I mean, again, I think like on a deeper level, most of these beautiful people, whatever you are, if you're listening, like you have a weird tendency. Yeah, maybe she was helping in a weird way. Maybe it was also her like in her own way of like, if I flirt with this guy, will he just like instantly forget about her? And then that's good for Melissa because then she doesn't have to deal with this guy. And I'm like, but that doesn't help anybody. No.
Because then what if he also was like, oh, this is weird? Because at the same time, I mean, I'm okay looking. And I've been through those positions where I'm like, why are you hitting on me?
Yeah.
And it's so strange because it's, you know, like always either the friend or like that kind of friend.
Yeah.
And then it's because I'm dating her friend, whatever you want to call it. And I go, what's happening? And like, again, I'm conscious enough of it because I know where I stand. And I also, when I'm dating somebody, I'm dating that person. And so when that has happened in my past, I go, I'm like, do you know if she does this? Because this is weird. And I tell like my girlfriend, whoever I'm dating at the time, I go, she does this. Like, apparently this is a thing. I'm like, I don't know if she's testing me or what. I was like, but your friends should not do that.
No. Because
it should never be a thing. And it's funny because with the girl who was I was in the open relationship with, I should just call her just because open relationship, OR.
Yeah.
None of her friends ever did that. They just, they were all very cool people. They were all very accepting. They enjoyed my company. And I thought that was the other better part, because I was like, wow, there's no weird judgments.
Yeah.
There's nothing between, especially because they knew our situation.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm going to have to go in and be like, yeah, this works for us. None of that. And I liked it, because sometimes I'm sure even now, when you talk to people about that, if like, let's say you and your boyfriend now were in an open relationship, people will be like, why? And they'd be almost concerned for both of you. It's like, did he say it or you say it? It's like, we both did. Like, it was like a conscious decision. Like, some people, it just kind of does work for. You have your main and then you have your others.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to anybody out there if I am like just completely like bringing that down to the horrible sense. I know the main. I know that's what they're called. I don't know what your other partners are, if they're your Tinder finds, whatever. I'm like, but from what I know, you have a main, which is like your main girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, whatever. Yeah, and that was the first. But then like with my friends, when I mentioned it, they thought it was weird.
Yeah.
And they're like, why would you be in an open relationship? I went, I don't know, it's easy. Like, yeah, she's sleeping with other dudes, but like, I have the option to sleep with other guys, girls. Ugh. I promise. That's not whoever. I mean, maybe I was experimenting at one point.
Go with the flow.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I'll kiss a dude. It was just interesting on the two dynamic differences of like friends that were like more accepting and the ones that were like concerned.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, did she say it or you? I went, I mean, she did. I was like, but I'm for it. I was like, yeah, I probably didn't sleep with anybody when her and I were, in a sense, like dating, but that didn't cause any problems for me, because I still got to sleep with her. She did always want to still sleep with me. And then again, she kept mentioning she wanted to be in a relationship. So I went, I'm offering something that the others aren't, which actually made me feel better, which is weird, I know, but it was just strange of how I would think my friends would have been like, yeah, dude, that's great. And they were just like, I mean, are you good with that? Like, that's weird. Like, I went, it's not.
Well, I think too, like, I feel like we're so like conditioned to think that like relationships have to be this like set in stone thing between two people. Like, and I think that's just like this like false narrative. I mean, like later on, like I ended up living with this my friend, I won't mention her name, but I ended up living with her, and she opened my eyes to like, so she has a boyfriend, her main, but they want to be in a poly relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard of that. I never even like, you know what I mean? And it opened my eyes of like, wow, like you really can just be with whoever you want. And if it works for your relationship, then it works for your relationship. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's like, it doesn't just have to be like two people. It's like, it can be open. You can like sleep with who you want to sleep with, like figure it out, maybe add in a third person, maybe like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're so conditioned to think like, oh, you have to like have two people in a relationship, and it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
It can still be open, go with the flow, like freedom to then like, you know, then iron out some things. And
it doesn't always have to be A and B. Like sometimes, you know, you take a little sidetrack and you're like, oh, there's C and there's a lot of D's here. But like,
yeah.
And it's funny because I remember, I think I either was still in college or I was about to graduate. I was working on a film set, and I was also their editor, but it was like at their home. It was a big house. It was really weird. And while I was working from them, I think they had like, they needed like high school students there or something. So, and they had a daughter who at the time I think was like 16 or 17. So she was in high school. So she just invited her friends. I forget what scene they were supposed to do. And afterwards, I actually was ending up having dinner with everybody. And I was sitting outside because I wanted to be outside, because I was like, I don't want to be inside. Like I want to be. And the kids came out and sat with me, and I was like, this is weird.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I ended up talking with them, and one of the guys there was telling me, because I saw, and it's funny because it actually reverts back to the eye gazing thing. It was this girl and him, and they just could not stop, like, you know, little like flirts and like staring at each other. And so after like an hour, I was like, you two are dating, right? And she goes, no, we're not. Do you want to tell him why? And I went, oh my God. And so I was like, hang on, let me make sure if I got a beer enough for this. I was like, I can't wait to hear this story. And he was telling me that he was dating a girl, and he does like this one girl who's sitting at the table. but he hasn't had a chance to break up with her because he wanted to do it in person. And I was like, why haven't you been able to see her? And I forget, I think it was during summer when we were doing the shoot. So she was like either on vacation or whatever. And I was like, I need you to understand. I was like, two things. I was like, it's great. It's fantastic that you are showing me that, yes, this younger generation still wants to do things face to face, like this breakup. I was like, I need you to understand though. I was like, how long have you two been doing this like weird dance? I was like, for a while. From what it seems like, I went, you're not doing anybody any favors. You're putting her on hold. Your girlfriend is out somewhere thinking her boyfriend is just like hanging out with friends. I'm like, and yet you're into her. I was like, just break up with her. Call her, text her. I was like, whatever. I was like, waiting for her to come by and then not having the time for you means you just need to break it off. I was like, because you're putting her on hold. That's not okay for anybody. And I was like, also for you. And I was talking to her. I was like, you should not be waiting for him if he's not going to make the step. I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I was like, as the older person here, I was like, you have a week to break up with your girlfriend to go out with her. I was like, if not, I was like, you need to go out with another guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, I need you to understand. I was like, you're young and everything. I was like, are you two going to get married? Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah.
This is maybe another experience. This is another story. This is something that could better both of you. I was like, why are you making her wait? I was like, and why are you waiting?
Yeah.
And I feel like that has been a constant thing for everybody. Like, you have done nothing but date until you met your current boyfriend and you both are happy, but you got to experience all those things of like, was this the right one? Was this not?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like most people don't do that. They like wait for that person to be free, which is, I understand like why a lot of affairs and everything happen. You know, there's the cliche of movies of like, but he says he loves me. I'm like, yeah, he's your boss and you're his secretary. Like, and he has 5 kids. Pretty sure he doesn't love you that much. Like,
no. And I feel like too, like actually you saying that about this person, like, I feel like I experienced the same thing in college. Like I was hooking up with a guy that had a girlfriend and we were kind of like friends with benefits, even though he had a girlfriend, but I always wanted him. I was like, why don't you break up with her? Like, you clearly like me. You clearly, like, he would pick me up. We would go on dates, actually. Like, I remember, like, our first date was getting Chinese food. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, why are you with her? And he would always say, opposites attract. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, you know what I mean?
It means nothing.
And I'm like, what the fuck does that, like, why don't you break up? Well, opposites attract. Like, me and her are so opposite that it just, like, works. And I'm like, okay, so me and you are just... I guess just this. And I always wanted it to be more with him too, because I was like, what the hell? Like, clearly we have something here, but I guess, like, I don't know. I was just waiting around. I was waiting for him to break up with her. And then, you know what the thing is? He broke up with her and still didn't want to be with me. He got another girlfriend in fucking seconds. Of
course.
And then it's like, then you look at yourself and you're like, what's wrong with me? Like crying to yourself in the mirror.
Yeah,
like, you're like,
eating ice cream or like a bunch of cupcakes.
Yeah,
like...
chugging a fucking bag of wine. Like, you know, like slapping the bag, crying. What's wrong with me? But no, I was like waiting around. But, you know, tying it back to like the mean guy I was talking about, I think that's also why it didn't work, because I was holding on to that other guy too. I was like almost holding on to both of them because I saw potential in both of them and I didn't want to let either of them go. But the one that was the friends with benefits that had a girlfriend, that was just toxic. And I see that now, that it was just toxic and I was waiting for nothing, basically. Like, it was never going to be anywhere. And like, I should have just known that instead of like, maybe he'll break up with her for me.
Like, hands on your side, like, oh, he'll come to me soon enough. Like, and it never won't ever happen. Like,
and even if he did come to me, it's like, would I trust him? Would I trust that he wouldn't go and find a friend with benefits? Like the same thing he did with the same thing. So then it's like, is it even worth it to try to wait for someone when you don't even know if you trust them? And that's my whole thing of like, how do you not have... If I don't have trust, then what am I waiting for?
Regardless of whatever situation you're in, like, trust is the constant thing. Like, if you guys are open, poly, if you're, you know, it's just you two, but like maybe during the summer you guys are swingers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If there's no trust, if there's no like talked about boundaries or anything, someone's always going to always end up getting hurt. Yes, there are people who always end up cheating. That's just the thing. But there's also the, like you were saying, like, yeah, what if you two ended up dating, but then just lo and behold, he had a side piece? Like,
Yeah.
you probably would never know. And it's hard to trust people of that because they did it to you.
And
or they did it with you, I guess.
And it ties into the same of like paranoia of like, I didn't think I was the only other girl. You know what I mean? Like I just had this feeling, and I feel like I was right, but I just have this feeling that there was other girls. Like I wasn't the only one that he was keeping as a side piece with his main girlfriend. And I'm sure he had similar conversations, which is why he always said opposites attract. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it seems so scripted. Like, and it's like, I probably wasn't the only one, but for some reason, I think being young, and I was insecure in college. I feel like too, like having a roommate that was so beautiful, I feel like it definitely tied into my own insecurity of like,
oh, it always does.
Oh my God, like she is so beautiful. And then there's me, like, you know what I mean? So then I felt like too, you hold on to something just because they're giving you attention and you don't have, and I didn't have that from anyone else. So yeah, I was holding on to it until my longtime friend and coulda, shoulda been lover came around. And for him too, found myself waiting this waiting game of.
I actually really like that title. Coulda, shoulda been lover.
Coulda, shoulda been what? Like
that's a t-shirt right there for everybody.
I mean, yeah, like, and so I feel like once I let go of that thing and then open to him, who was my roommate at the time, like then, and that was still, and I think back to tying it back to like what the demise was of that, because I was watching him hook up with other girls, that tied into my own insecurity even more. And then my own even like identity crisis of like, who am I? Oh my God, like he's hooking up with this girl and this girl and this girl. Like, should I be thinner or wear my hair like this or dress like this or whatever? And then really, I think the final straw, which I had we talked about before this, was he couldn't stop hooking up with my best friend either.
Oh, right. Yeah. We talked about that off recording. Yeah.
So
get into that, because I know you kind of mentioned it with just me that there was like you guys were on vacation or something, or like at a beach house. So we were
at my beach house. So my family has this house, and so every year it's like a family house, like the cousins, aunts, uncles, like we all share it.
Okay.
You know, and so every summer, everyone, like every family in my family gets to have like a week down there. So then every summer, everyone throws parties, you know? So it was my time to throw a college party. So like every year, every summer of college, I would throw a party at this house. So me and him, that's when we were really vibing with each other. Like we were really like, you know, like all about each other. Like that's when everyone was calling us husband and wife. Like I really saw the potential. I left the friends with benefit behind, like, you know, really, really vibing. And so we're at my beach house, and even my mom was there. My mom was like, oh, there's something going on with you two. I see it. Like, you know, like how moms are.
Yep.
And she was like, yeah, I see it. Like, I see the way you guys look at each other. And she had said that to me, like, I see the way you guys look at each other. And that was like the second time, like, you know what I mean? That I was like, maybe it is real. So we were all drinking, of course, and whatnot. And then time, you know, like the night was going on, and now all of a sudden it's like 3 a.m. and I'm tired. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to bed, guys. But people were still up, like partying. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to go to bed. Well, let me bring it back a little bit. So before that, they were hooking up on and off. And I had told her, I was like, I really have feelings for him now. I was like,
did you know that they were hooking up before?
Yeah. So she told me. She was like, oh, we had sex, like whatever. So I was like, okay, like, all right. And then I told her, I was like, I really like him. And I was like, I think that I like L word, like I think I like love him. And I was like, so I want to see like where it will go. Like, so can you stop hooking up with him? And I asked her, like, you know, like sat down with her, like as like a friend to friend, like honest conversation. I was like, can you please stop hooking up with him? Like, you know, like, cause I want to see where it'll go. So she was like, yeah, no problem. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I believe her. She's my best friend, you know, of 5 years. I believed her. I'm like, yeah. So back to like, we're at the beach house. I go to bed, and then we wake up the next day, and my friend was like, her bra is downstairs. And I was like, what do you mean her bra is downstairs? And she's like, no, her bra is downstairs. Like, go look. And I saw her bra, like just like downstairs. So and she was sleeping in my room of this house, right? So I go up to her and I'm like, did you fuck him? Like I literally looked her in the eyes and I was like, did you fuck him? And she was like, looked me dead in the face and said no. She was like, no. And I was like, you didn't. And she was like, no. And I was like, but your bra is downstairs, like in my fucking living room.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no. Like, she was like, nothing happened. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, I asked you honestly. I was hoping for an honest answer.
Yeah.
So we go to the beach, whatever. And then we're walking to a convenience store to get cigarettes. And she's like, oh, I just have to tell you the truth. Like, I can't even look at you. She was like, we did sleep together. And I was like, so one, like, you lied to my face.
Yeah.
And then B, you slept with him at my house when I asked you to not do that.
Yeah. When I asked you a huge, like, I like this person and I want to see if it'll go anywhere. Like, can you just be a good friend and like stop fucking him? That's insane.
No. So couldn't do it. And I literally couldn't forget it. And like, I'm not a grudge holder, but I couldn't get over it. I couldn't forget it. And for some reason, I wasn't mad at him. I think just because me and him never like solidified any rules or anything, but I was mad at her because she knew how I felt. And that's what like I felt like really like was like the kicker, like the like knife in the heart of like, you knew how I felt and then you went and did it at my house.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like if you went and did that like in your car or something else, I still would have been upset. But it's just the fact that like you did it at my house. Like I invited you here for a party and then you did that. And then I asked you about it and you lied to my face. Like, you know what I mean? Like you should have just told me the truth, like, you know, but so I literally could never forget it. And then I think that's where our like my hatred / like love for him, like, and I couldn't distinguish between the two. Like it was like I hated him, hated her, and then I just yeah.
See, that's so funny because it's always hard when, in a sense, when you are constantly betrayed by like your friends and someone you really like, that you can't get over it regardless of whatever ended up happening. But I mean, you actually went through the steps of like and told your friend, like, I like this person, so I want to pursue this. I need you to stop.
Yeah.
Because I know what you two are doing is just like fucking whatever. I was like, but we could actually have something. But then, then like going behind your back and just be like, no, nothing happened. It's like, so your bra is just here because you were doing a magic trick by yourself. Like you're like, and ta-da.
You just got naked in my living room for fun.
Just for shits and giggles. You're just like, no one's awake. And you're just like, now I'm naked. See, and that's the thing. I mean, I guess it'd be weird if one of my guy friends, I was like, is this your bra? Because then that would be a whole other conversation. I mean, yeah, if that ended up happening with my friends and I talked to them about it, be like, did you sleep with this so-and-so or whatever? And I think that was actually one thing with the open relationship I had was I think I actually mentioned, I was like, she cannot sleep with any of my friends. Like, doesn't matter. I was like, they are completely off limits. I was like, because I think in my mind, I was like, it's not something I want to have in common with them. I was like, also, I feel like that's just a weird betrayal on our ends because if we all end up hanging out together, I was like, what's to say you won't go sleep with them again?
Yeah.
Like, and you know, the situation that you kind of came up into. And I was like,
yeah,
can't do that. Can't have that. And then she kind of made the same rule, but then so there was one really weird part about with her was I helped her move in. So like after we broke things off, like we actually ended up talking again and then like we were hooking up here and there. Nothing was ever going to come from it because in my head I was like, well, you already broke my trust. Like, not once, 4 times. Like,
4
like,
times.
Yeah, 4. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, and a 4. You're done.
4. So
we still had fun and I still helped her out mainly because, you know, I was young and sex. Like, that's a key thing for any guy.
I mean, girl too.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, girl, guy, like you're getting your parts touched when you're like, I'm feeling sad. They'll fuck me. Like self-esteem right up.
100%.
And especially if you actually like can talk and bond a little bit, makes it a little bit better, you know, relationship wise. So I helped her move into this apartment with one of her like longtime friends. And her friend had a child from a bad relationship. And I forget what really brought it on, but I used to be there here and there. And, you know, I was obviously sleeping with her. And then one time she was talking, my open relationship was talking with me about her roommate. She's like, what do you think of her? I was like, I was like, is this like a bad conversation?
Yeah,
or
in
like
what sense?
Yeah, and and so it basically ended up, she was saying that her and her roommate were talking about like how the roommate hadn't had sex in a while.
So
she actually offered me up to her roommate.
Like,
and I found this out from the roommate first.
Well, I mean, that is a compliment to you.
It was a compliment.
You're the eligible bachelor.
Yeah, apparently. But I was like, this is kind of like, this is a whole different like porn fantasy, pretty much. Like, I was like, okay. And so when like her roommate and I, like, I was still helping them move in some stuff, and it was around that time I helped them move in stuff, and then her and I were talking about it. Like, I remember she was sitting on the couch and I just put something down, and it was like, I was like, this is weird. This got weird because we mentioned it. I was like, yeah, she told me about it. I was like, and it just got silent. And I know it could have been like 4 seconds, but it felt like 4 minutes. And I went, so is this something like you want? Because in my head, I was like, so she offered me up. I didn't hear your response from her.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know if it'll be okay. Like, will it cause problems between you two? Whatever. I was like, but at the same time, I was like, I kind of don't really want that, because then it's like, if I come over, am I gonna have to sleep with both of you? Because someone's gonna get jealous.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would have happened. So when...
But then I feel like, too, then they're going to sit there and, like, talk about it and compare it. And I would feel so insecure. I would be,
God.
like, walking out, like, oh, my God, what are they going to say? Like, was I good? Like, what happened? Like...
You know, one would be like, yeah, I came. I didn't. I'd be like, oh, no. Like, what do I do from here? And then I remember one night, I guess, like, her and her baby daddy were there. I guess, I don't know what they were trying to do, what they were trying to reconcile or whatever. But he left, and then she went and took a shower. And so open relationship girl and I were just like hanging out on the couch. And I'm just sitting there like, that was weird. That was weird for everybody. She's like, yeah. She's like, this is why I tell her she just needs to have sex with somebody. And she like kind of did like hand on my thigh. I was like, are you offering me again? She's like, if you want, you can go check on her in the bathroom and then see. And I was like, and you're just going to sit here and listen, or like what? And I don't know if that was actually something she wanted to do. Like it was like a turn on for her to be like, yeah, I'm going to have this guy I'm fuck my friend, and I'm going to see if it sounds better.
I mean, some people are into that.
Oh, they're super into it.
Yeah. Where they almost want to like, no offense to those people, I'm not judging you. Like, you know what I mean? Do you? But like some people want to just like sit in the corner and masturbate while they watch their like boyfriend, like, or girlfriend, like fuck someone else. And so maybe that was her.
Maybe that was her. Like, maybe I'm going to try this like down the road and see if this works out. And it was just so weird because I remember looking at her going, no. I was like, she also just got into a fight with him. I was like, also really weird if he comes back and I'm not sitting here with you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awkward.
A little bit. Yeah. It was, so that was like that whole thing. Like we started off, you know, being in an open relationship. We had that whole situation. Then we're just sleeping here and there. And then it got to that whole roommate situation. And then that got weirder for me. And then her roommate left. And then I think at the time, I think her dad didn't have a place. So her dad was living with her, which I was like, okay, well, I'm not sleeping over here anymore. Like we're not sleeping together. And then we did a few times, but it was super weird only because we had to like sneak me in, and then we had to like quietly have sex in her room. I was like,
oh,
and I was like almost hot, but not. Because then like afterwards I had to like sneak out too.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I'm trying to avoid that whole thing. And I was like,
see, I feel like it's like fun in high school. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're like younger, like living at home, it's like, oh yeah, like sneak you through the window. Yeah, like, oh, be quiet. But I feel like when you're older, it's like, okay, like, is this hot or like, is this like weird? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Am I creepy? Like,
yeah. Like, or is this hot? Like, am I getting turned on? Yeah. Or like, is this?
I mean, there are those moments, and I don't know if you've experienced with your boyfriend, or I'm sure plenty of people out here have, where when you're either on holiday or something and you're together in a room, and like, let's say it's like a family home. So in a sense, like the beach house, let's say if you guys went and you know, your family's there, but you're with your partner and you're just like, we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
But we're going to do it very quietly. And that's the kind of like, that's hot.
See, yeah, that's hot. Yeah.
But like if he wasn't invited to the beach house and he just like came down, you're like, we're going to sneak you in and then you got to go away. And it's,
no.
It would be like, I would be like, okay, this is hot for like the 10 minutes we talked about it. It stopped being hot when I'm actually like, I have to ninja and thief my way in through the house. And like even, and that was the thing, even when we had sex, like she couldn't be loud. So I mean, that's kind of hot. Like I had to cover her mouth, but then like she had to cover her own mouth with like a pillow. And I was like, her dad didn't hear us. And I was like, this got really weird because it's an apartment. Yeah. And so literally the bedrooms were across from each other. So if we were loud at any point, he would have heard it.
100%.
Yeah. And I was
even too, like, I feel like we're turning this into like a sex podcast almost at a certain extent.
Everybody, you're welcome.
But yeah, right. But no, I feel like those are the moments where it's like, then you have to be like so nervous of like every little sound of like, is the bed gonna creak too loud and her dad gonna hear? Or like, are my footsteps too loud going to the bathroom after? Like, you know what I mean?
You actually gotta like tiptoe around.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let me put on my clothes very quietly. Like, let me little tiptoe out of here.
So since we got on that topic, I guess this will be like the final kind of like last question of when you found out that your best friend at the time slept with the guy. Yeah. Was that the final thing, or was there another situation that you're like, we're done? Like when was it like you guys were officially done?
Solidified.
Yeah. Ooh, good word. Yeah.
I don't even like, to be honest, like the timeline I feel like mushes in my brain since it was like 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it was. But no, so I feel like that happened, and then I'm pretty sure we had another year of school. So I don't know, it really just got like super toxic, and we were like, I feel like always bickering, always fighting, like that's like, and then he really started bringing girls over, and like, you know, like it was just got like super toxic. But I still always like wanted it to work, and I always just kept saying like, oh, I'll just forget about it. Like I'll be the bigger person and I'll just like water under the bridge. But it's like, no matter how many times you tell yourself like psychologically, like it's not a big deal, you still for some reason think it's a big deal. Yep. And that to me, it's like, if I am still feeling that way, then I need to just trust what I'm feeling instead of trying to like deny it or like put it on the back burner. And so, yeah, and then also too, I think like with I don't know, just even like with the whole political climate at the time, that's when like there was the whole Trump election. So I think that caused a huge rift as well. Like, you know, just because like there was a lot of tension even just in the country. So I feel like that didn't help. And then, so I think really what it came down to is like me and the girl, like my best friend at the time who had slept with him, me and her had like a huge falling out, like screaming, like huge falling out where we like just stopped being friends. Now we're cordial with each other, which I'm really happy about. Like we've kind of like, she apologized to me, like, you know what I mean? We kind of like reconciled that. Yeah. But with him, we were like supposed to graduate, and then he didn't end up graduating. So I ended up graduating, and then I just moved home. And I think that's kind of what it was of like, you know, like I'm moving home, like he was still going to be down there. And school was like only 2 hours away, not that far, but far enough where it was like, you know, let me just almost like start over. Like, you know what I mean? I'll just leave that in my college life and close that college chapter. And then even too, back to the whole like waiting, I was waiting around. Me and him would like, if I went down there, we would like hook up if I went down, like, you know what I mean? But then I don't know, there was always just something missing. Like even when we would hook up, like I just never felt like satisfied, if you will. Like, you know, it's almost like you feel grimy about it, or like you feel like it's like, ooh, like, ooh, I wish I didn't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no offense to him, that was just my own feelings. Like the sex was good and everything, but it's just like, for me, I was just like, oh, it's not. Yeah, like,
it was the like, it's like, was I just doing it just because, or like,
yeah, like, was I doing it because of my own insecurity, or was I doing it because whatever reason? So I don't know. So then I was just at home, and, you know, I'm working at this little bakery, and my boss, God bless her, so I love her, she's from Benin. She's it's in West Africa. So I feel like she just has this like wisdom about her, you know. She told me like, she was like, what the hell are you doing waiting around for someone who's like not chasing after you?
Yeah.
She was like, if a guy isn't like chasing to your house, like banging down your door to go on a date with you, then like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that's like old fashioned, whatever. She's like, no, it's not. She was like, if someone wants to be with you, like they will put in every single effort for you. And those are the people that you need to like find and hold on to. And I was like, okay, like whatever. And she was like, stop waiting on this loser. Like, let him go. Like, she was like, you need to let him go. Like, stop waiting on him. Like, stop checking his Facebook and whatever, like stalking him. She was like, let him go. And I was like, all right. So I remember, I think we like slept together one last time. And then she was like, Melissa, like, let him go. And I was like, all right, I'll let him go. And I let him go. And I literally kid you not, I feel like 3 months later, then I met my boyfriend, literally someone who was like trying to go on dates with me, like making all this effort, like treating me like exactly the way that I feel like I'm supposed to be treated. And I literally said to her, I was like, what is this? Some like voodoo, like magic you put on me? Like, what is this? And she was like, I told you. She was like, when you stop waiting for like losers, like you will find, well, not loser. I'm not going to call him a loser, but like stop waiting on people when there are other people who will do everything you want and then some. And I feel like literally I let that go. And then my boyfriend came literally walking through a door, like, you know what I mean? At a Friendsgiving.
Yeah.
So it just seemed to be like, if it's like whatever happens, you know, like it just seemed to be like exactly what was meant to be for me. Like I was supposed to let that go, leave that in college, like leave all the toxic, like, you know, even the insecurities. Like now with my boyfriend, like I have no insecurities. Like I literally am like not insecure whatsoever. Like, cause he makes me feel, I guess, that way. Like he gives me confidence, gives me everything that I need and then some. So yeah, I feel like that was like kind of, I guess, like what just solidified. It was like almost like getting this advice from someone else and actually listening to it. And then literally meeting my boyfriend. And then I was like, all right, that's all I needed to like close that door and open like a new one.
See, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, on this show, what we will be doing is we cheers to our ex.
Cheers.
And we will end it there. Everyone, thank you for listening. And hopefully you
thank
enjoyed
you.
our stories. I'm sure everyone's going to be wondering Melissa's next story. And honestly, whenever she wants to come back on and do another story, even if it's about your boyfriend and like that whole Friendsgiving, because honestly, now I'm intrigued.
Love to.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to X Marks the Spot. Thank you for listening to X Marks the Spot podcast. Episodes are released every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Just simply look for X Marks the Spot podcast. If you have a story you'd like to share and be on the show, please feel free to reach out at xmarksthespotpodcast@gmail.com or DM us on any of our social media. Thank you again for listening.